What's up, guys? I wanted to do something kind of for me today. I wanted to do a little run through the past and present versions of this shop, our Overland Outfitters shop, and just show you guys how we operate. It's really messy right now, so don't judge us too much. But yeah, let's get right into it. We're gonna start right here at the door. This is my office. It is obviously packed with parts for my truck here. You got some grills, stuff like that. And I'm parked up right next to the plasma table because our shop is really small and we don't have a lot of space. So I designed stuff right there and then we cut it right here. And this is where a lot of the stuff that we make comes from. I also decided to put a bench here. So this bench I designed that all the oil drains to the back and then it has like a gutter in the back and that oil just drains into a bucket. So this is where we do diff rebuilds. It's where we do shock rebuilds, stuff like that. Anything that has a lot of oil, we just do right here and the oil just kind of makes its way out of here. So yeah, you know, it's just every bench always ends up full of junk. We got some just random storage over there, but yeah, into the meat of the shop. This here was our first lift. Way back in the day, this lift was just right in the middle and that was all we had. It was crazy how big this shop felt when we started and how small it feels now. But now this lift is right here in front of the main bay doors, which are right behind you. And to the left here, we have our tire machines. Everything is just crammed into every space possible. So, you know, we have some tire machines here so we can do your guys' tires. And then we kind of, like I said, it's a bit messy, but we have our welding grinding area here. So we do a lot of work. I spend a lot of time right here. You know, all our grinders and stuff are up on the wall. We can weld and stuff here. We got our bandsaw so we can chop stuff down. All that kind of usual stuff happens there. Welders kind of float around all over the place. And we do have a lot of stuff on the floor right now. But this is a more recent addition to our shop, is the lathe. Honestly, we don't use it a ton, but when we do use it, there's nothing else that could have done the job. So it's really fun to have. I'm super stoked that we have the lathe. It has saved me so many times. Obviously a belt sander, always good to have. We use a couple different welders and stuff. So we have a Miller welder that I used for a long time, but I just recently upgraded to an Everlast. So we have both. So the Everlast is dual function. It's a MIG and a TIG, and we mostly use it for TIG, and then we use the Miller for MIG. We also have a couple plasma cutters, stuff like that. Obviously we have the oxyacetylene torch back there. And then moving right around, the forklift is parked in the way, but we have our hydraulic press. This was a huge upgrade for the shop. We used to have like one of those little hand cranky presses. Now we have the air over hydraulic and the air's on a foot pedal. And man, it makes a difference. You can like have everything stacked up and just with your foot, and it's just sweet. I'm super stoked that we got that press. I found it for a deal on Craigslist. And then right next to that, we do have our trusty forklift here. This thing, I should have just bought a Toyota. Why didn't I think of that? It was like 10 grand for the Toyota or 6 grand for the forklift, the Doosan. And you know what? I probably put another 4 grand into this thing to make it run properly. So, and it still is kind of, I should have just bought a Toyota forklift. So if you're in the market for a forklift, the Doosan, kind of mediocre if I'm totally honest. But this upgrade here, the sandblaster, this was a major upgrade for our shop and an upgrade for everybody who comes into our shop, because anytime you guys bring stuff in, we're doing spindle gussets or we're doing any sort of work like that, you know, we're in BC, a lot of stuff is kind of crusty and whatever. We can get it perfectly clean with this, and then we can do perfect welds every time, all that stuff. So I'm really pumped on having this. It's a super important tool for us. We use it every single day. So really excited about that guy. This corner, I don't like talking about this corner, but we have our kind of shop laptop and music stuff, and we have a few little bits and bobs, but this is honestly mostly where all the junk from my truck project ends up. So we got, you know, my heater core, just a bunch of random junk back there. Obviously this is the project truck. It's very slowly progressing, very, very slowly, but one day she'll run again. If you want to see more of this, let me know in the comments and I will start trying to do way more videos about the build process on this thing. Honestly, I haven't touched it a lot just recently because we've just had a lot going on, but I plan to next year be able to do a lot more on this thing and get it driving. So let me know if you want to see that. We'll do some videos. In the back here behind the truck project, you can see I got the tires for the truck. And then we got our compressor back there, our air dryer, all that kind of stuff. One of our tech's toolboxes. This is my toolbox here. So it's a pretty good time. Little bender thing here. This is one of our benches as well. You know, you just have vices and stuff wherever you can. So metal top, you know, just a workbench, you know, just the normal thing. Got our bench grinder, super handy tool. You gotta have a bench grinder. So we stock all the parts that come into our shop for builds end up on this shelf, and this is where they get organized so that we know when this truck comes in, we just have the parts there ready to go. So all these parts are ready for install, and then we just have kind of some random fabrication parts and stuff because we're always just going through that kind of thing. This is my old toolbox. I don't actually use this one anymore. It's just empty. So it's for sale. This is our electrical tool cart. So I bought this tool cart specifically for electrical. So it only has electrical tools in it, all just like the specific crimpers and stuff that you need, all your electrical bits and bobs and wire and heat shrink and fuses and all that kind of stuff is in this toolbox. I made this kind of little zip tie holder and just screwed it to the side so we always have all our zip ties accessible. Our loom is all here accessible, ready to go. And then I made these, I know there's just tape on here right now, but I actually made this so you can put the spools of wire on and just pull the wire. So this cart has been awesome. Anytime you're doing an electrical job, you just grab the electrical cart, you know you have everything you need. Then coming over here, this is my first toolbox, I think. And this one is now kind of turned into the shop toolbox. So all the shop tools that everybody kind of needs, but nobody really wants to buy, I get those tools, and then anybody can just use the tools that are in this box. So weird things like 3-jaw pullers that, you know, people don't necessarily need all the time, they end up in here. So, or like, you know, like your ECGS tool. So if you're ever doing an ECGS bearing, we don't each need to have an ECGS tool. So we got those here. Just things like that anybody can just use end up here. Another vise, obviously. These are my pry bars. I am gonna move those at some point here. Yeah, so that's kind of that area. Another, like surprisingly, but another fairly recent upgrade to the shop was getting all this stuff. So this is all like your just roll-lock kind of sandy bits and bobs and whatever, and different screws and plugs and caps, and you know, we even have, which one here, Toyota body clip. So this is just all Toyota specific clips and whatever that make the Toyota work. So if you break one, you can just pop in here and grab one. And obviously your bolt selection, you just have to have a bolt bin. So we end up with a lot of stock Toyota bolts. So those stay here. Then we have metric, and then we have standard. You know, we got our hose clamps, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is such an imperative thing to have in the shop. And I'm so glad that we have it. And then moving right along, we have our Brannick 7600. Every single shop, pretty much anywhere, has one of these. Unless all they do is shocks and they have like some sort of hydraulic one. But this thing has been super handy. This is one of the first tools I bought for the shop, and it has been surviving. It used to be on the other side actually, and it's moved a couple times and now it's here. But yeah, this thing has been stout. Glad I have it. Couldn't do the job otherwise. Also, these lifts. So we got two rotary lifts here. So this one is an ancient rotary lift, but it works great. And that one is a bit newer. It's all fancy digital. It has the buttons on both sides, which is nice. But I actually bought these two lifts and our 80-gallon compressor for a very low price from a shop just across the way that was closing down, and he just sold me all this stuff for like $6,000 for all of it. So really good deal, and that's how we moved from 1 lift to 3. So that was a big move in our shop. That was a big chunk of money that I put out, and then, you know, now we're kind of a lot bigger of a shop compared to when we started. We had other guys in here that were renting. We had like some of my friends that were doing woodwork and stuff. They rented a corner of the shop, and then another friend that did fabrication, he rented a part of the shop. And then I slowly just kept kicking them out. Sorry guys, but I just needed the room because we just kept growing and growing, and now we're like too big for this space. This space is so crammed. We need another lift or 2. So yeah, anyway, we're in here still, so it's good. Another one of my Tex toolboxes here, and then just our metal bins. So there's always weird Toyota parts and stuff in there. Yeah, so that's that. That's kind of the main floor area. I guess we might as well just check out the toilet here. So we got this lovely sign, bathroom. This bathroom is pretty gross normally, and it's gross right now. But I just wanted to show you guys because it's got these hilarious posters in here. This is a 2nd gen Tundra, and there's a 2nd gen Tacoma. And what happened is I asked Toyota for a Toyota banner because we're a Toyota shop. And they're like, oh, let's see what we have. And then they came back like a week later and they're like, hey, we couldn't find any banners, but we have these photos from the release of these Toyotas, and they're just the worst Photoshop jobs ever, and they're so funny, and I love them so much that they ended up in the bathroom so I could look at them every day. But they're such funny posters. Originally, we did not have this racking. So this racking was such a game changer for us. Now, obviously, you know, we can store wheels, we can store tents, we can store all the stuff that's up here. It used to be that we had to move like 15 pallets in and out every single day before we could start work. This whole floor would be crammed with pallets because we didn't have the racking. And I don't know how we did that, because it was probably like 45 minutes every single day of just moving pallets outside, and then at the end of the day moving them back in. It was nuts. And we're always just trying to cram, like people would leave their vehicles overnight, and you know, people would drop a vehicle off that we were working for like the next week. We'd end up with like 6 vehicles, and we're just like trying to squeeze them in like crazy. And it's it's been interesting being in such a small space, but it's been fun too. We've learned a lot, and we've learned to become a bit more efficient and everything. I know that it looks like a crazy mess right now, and it usually doesn't actually look like this, but you know, it does the trick. We've been getting by with this shop for 6 years now, I think, and yeah, slowly upgrading and, you know, making things more efficient and dialed and stuff like that. And it's been really fun. I'm gonna miss this place when we move on, and we are gonna move on. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's been a journey in this building, and you can probably tell like we are kind of pushing the limits of what this space can do. You know, we only have 2 trucks in here right now, but there's often like 4 or 5, and it's a lot. But we've been able to do a lot of really, really cool builds in here, and we've done some crazy projects, honestly, and I've spent so many hours of my life in this building. I've been here till 3 or 4 in the morning so many times. A lot of my friends come over and we just hang out and jam on trucks and just work like literally till 2 or 3 in the morning, because often, like if I'm working on my project, the next day we have a customer coming in, we gotta get on the lift, so I have to finish my project that night or we can't get the job done the next day. That happens so often because there's just not enough space to move stuff around. So it's a lot of late nights trying to get stuff done before, you know, the customer build comes in, which is always the priority. So yeah, it's been a journey. So hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you thought that was interesting. But really, this is just a journey through time for me. You know, 10 years from now, maybe we're not gonna be here and we're gonna be somewhere else, and it'll be cool to just look back and see the roots, right? So that's what this is all about. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you in the next one.